Hello, and welcome to the 8th episode of Two Chicks, One Show. My name is Tricia Ennis. She is Kait Calabro. We are the Two Chicks, and today's one show is the mid-season finale of Outlander. It is also the first of a two-part episode. We are going to be doing this half hour talking about Outlander, and then at 7 o'clock we will be doing another half hour talking about Once Upon a Time, so I apologize if I say Once Upon a Time at any point during this broadcast. Anyway, if you want to follow along and if you want to contribute to the conversation, feel free to post comments if you are on YouTube, if you are on the Google Hangout, if you are on our website, which is allgeektome.net. Post them and we will respond as well as we can. Also, you can tweet us. You can use our Twitter names right there. Or you can use the hashtag Two Chicks One Show with numbers because it saves on characters. And so, without further ado, let's talk about both sides now.
Alright, so the Outlander mid-season finale was filled with so much juice. First we get to see Frank in 1945 in Scotland as he continues his search for Claire. Even though everyone kind of around Frank is like, yo dude, she probably ran off with her lover, the guy you saw outside your room. Back in the 18th century, Claire and Jamie are living in marital bliss until the two are attacked, which makes Claire rediscover her mission to get back to Frank and back to her time, and she is given the opportunity to actually touch those stones again, but then it's ripped away from her.
Yes. Let's start with Frank, because I was really glad to see him again. I really like Frank. I apologize for the reflections. I really, really like Frank. I like that we got to see more of him. It was weird because this is the first time that we've actually now seen things not from Claire's perspective.
Yes.
And it was cool. I like seeing Frank. I like that he still has faith that she would not cheat on him regardless of the evidence. And I like Frank more than Jamie.
I like Frank a lot. I remember, I think last week's episode I was torn with the idea of seeing things not from Claire's point of view, which really bothered me. But I think doing it in the way where we couldn't see Frank from Claire's point of view because Claire's not there. So I think I'm okay with that. We didn't see Jamie meeting with, at his meeting because Claire wasn't there. So I guess we're still in the Claire point of view kind of thing, but the Frank stuff was chill. I think what's happening with Frank is that he's becoming kind of more hardened by the whole entire situation. He's not as soft as Frank from episode 1. The whole incident has made him a little bit more of an angry man, which is understandable. People don't believe him. He's trying to figure out if Claire would actually leave him, what he should do, if he should move on, if he should stay in Scotland. Clearly he's missing his first semester at Oxford. He's been there for 6 weeks.
Right. Yeah, and it's interesting because not only are we seeing him sort of become harder, we're also seeing him sort of slowly start to agree with them. He's starting to believe that, yeah, maybe she did leave me. This sucks, but I've been here for 6 or 7 weeks. She's been missing, and we can't find her. And there was this obviously attractive Scottish man who,
which it still boggles my mind how they got such a great drawing of Jamie. He really did not see him, but
well, Frank is brilliant. You should just accept that. And
yeah, Frank clearly has a photographic memory, and just the profile of the man's face, he was like, this is, he has a curl here. He's got his eyebrows slightly higher up here,
yeah, but I do like what we saw with Frank. The fact that he is sort of losing hope slowly, but that he manages to hold on to just enough of it to eventually make his way back to Craignadoon and the Rocks. And we don't know if that was because he honestly believed the woman and her story, or if it's because he was hoping, or if he knew he was leaving and he had to stop there one last time in the last place that his wife was.
I think it was a mixture of everything. I think Miss Graham, who I am assuming is the housekeeper of the pastor, who we saw from from episode 1 with Frank and Claire. And clearly he was like, until the very end, he was the only one that kind of was giving Frank hope, and then finally he was like, listen, it's been this X amount of days, you've done this, there's no leads. I think you need to move on. And then Miss Graham, who was the woman that read Claire's tea leaves in her palm and gave her all that spooky doobie stuff, and she danced around the rocks, tells Frank of the tale of how people have traveled through the stones. And what I found was surprising is that, Frank goes, well, I don't believe in your same beliefs. But of all people, I think Frank would be the one that would believe that crap the most. Because he's the one that wanted to go see the ladies dance around the rocks. He was the one doing all this exploring. So I find it hard to believe that I think deep down Frank believes it's a possibility. Because I think Frank has that little bit of believing in magic and superstition.
He's a little more
stuff inside.
Claire, you think? Because I find Claire to be, she accepted the time travel thing really fast. Although from everything else we know about her, she seems to be more of the analytical, sciencey, I need proof kind of person. And yeah, I would probably agree that Frank has a little more whimsy about him. Although at the same time, he is a historian. He's a historian, so he likes stories.
Yeah.
He's not an archaeologist, he's, but archaeologists like stories too. Maybe not so as much as historians. They like stories, and you like to know these little things, but he's also extremely curious, which I think is one of the reasons why he went to go see the ritual more so than he thought it was real. He thinks, I have this opportunity to watch people who actually believe this stuff dance around some stones. I'm going to do that. Yeah. Which is totally what I would do, which is probably one of the reasons why I like Frank. But off the subject of Frank, because he is actually not in the episode that much, although he is in it far more than he has been in any other episode except the pilot.
Yes.
We go back and like you said, Jamie and Claire are in marital bliss, and Jamie is wondering if it's normal that he really wants to just have sex with her all the time.
Yeah.
Which, yes it is. Although Claire says that, basically, no, it's not like this, because obviously we have real feelings for each other.
Yeah.
And they're attacked twice.
Well, are you talking about the first attack with the arrow?
No, the first attack with the arrow, which that dude is awesome.
Yeah. Now I remember what you're talking about.
They're attacked first as a group, and that's when Angus decides, they get Angus to teach Claire how to use a tannin knife, which there's a for it. They teach her how to do that, how to stab up under the ribs or underneath in the back into the kidney, which I feel like she would know, having been a military nurse.
And she kind of acts surprised by it. She's kind of I don't know if she's putting on a show, but it seemed like she didn't.
No, I think she honestly has no idea. I would assume that in the 40s that nurses weren't taught any sort of hand-to-hand combat, but she was a field medic. So she had to have seen enough, and she knows where the kidney is, and knows that if you stab somebody in it, they're probably going to die.
Yeah.
So I'm a little surprised that she didn't know that stuff already, wasn't able to put it together. But we do see, she's never really been in the position so far to be an offensive, aggressive person to actually, attack someone. So we actually see that she's really not comfortable with it, which I thought was nice.
I think we're jumping ahead, though. I think we need to talk about how Jamie finds out that he could possibly return home.
Okay, well, let's start with that then. We have my new favorite character, whose name I can't remember, who has had his tongue cut out by the British, or English. And
it was the Turks.
Was it the Turks? No, he was traveling with the Turks. He had his tongue cut out one way or the other. And so now he can only communicate in sort of weird grunts and a lot of sign language.
Jamie knows. Jamie's fluent in.
Jamie can, because he's perfect. Jamie can totally talk to this man because they are best friends.
Clearly.
And so they have a conversation, and Jamie finds out that he might be able to go home.
Yeah, apparently there is a deserter from the Redcoats that is willing to, I guess, testify on behalf of Jamie, saying that he witnessed Jamie not murdering the guard at Fort Williams when he was held prisoner. So if he gets this charge dropped, then he can return back to his home and he can bring his new bride.
Which he's really excited about doing, and it makes Claire a little uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And so then they go off try to find these deserters.
Yeah.
That is when they get attacked the second time.
Yes.
Yeah, they get attacked. They get attacked by deserters, I guess.
Yeah, they get attacked by Jamie and Claire are looking for, like, Claire's healing weeds, what really means, like, let's go have sex in the field. And while they're in the middle of the act, these two redcoat deserters show up and, like, want to rob them. I'm not really sure. They didn't look like they had anything on them. They were in the middle of having sex, so I don't know
what.
I
think they were just being assholes.
Yeah.
They saw them in the middle of having sex. They might be deserters, but they apparently still hate Scots.
Clearly.
And, so they pull Jamie off of her and decide, this will be fun. I'm going to kill you, but before I do that, I'm going to have you watch me rape your wife.
Yeah.
Which does not go over well for them either.
No. Either of them. So I think there's, parallels to Jamie having to watch his sister with Randall before he was being whipped.
Yeah.
And then it's also, the first time. Claire has been almost raped several times, but this is...
So many times!
Yeah, this is pretty much the closest to it. Did it actually happen? Like, I couldn't...
He got on top of her, but before anything could happen, he acted.
But this is probably the closest incident to it actually almost happening.
Yes. So other times was BJ, Blackjack Randall.
Yeah.
This dude, there was another time, right?
Well, there was the guys at the gathering.
Right, the guys at the gathering, which I don't know if they would have gone that far, but
yeah.
Do we count Dougal at the gathering?
Yeah, it was more like a grope.
Yeah, it was more like a grope than a rape. I love how we're categorizing.
Well, it's okay. Not that being groped.
Okay. Unwanted sexual advances on either gender are bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's definitely almost raped once before this, then this time, and then again. So this time she actually fights back, whereas before she was stunned, and of course it was Blackjack Randall, so she was like, oh, you look exactly like my husband.
Yeah, that has to be like the weirdest thing. I couldn't even imagine what that's like for her.
Well, at this point, I think she's over it, but...
Yeah, but still.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so using her wonderful skills that my beloved Angus teaches her, she's able to kill the dude, and then Jamie, just slits the throat of the other guy, and I was like... And I guess, clearly, even though she's been in war, I think this is probably the first time she's ever actually physically killed a human being.
Well, she goes into shock very quickly afterwards.
Yeah, she goes into shock. She's she's got the blood on her hands, which is very Lady Macbeth, even though it has nothing to do with it, but it just reminded me when she kept going like this, remember?
Yes, I know, I know. I'm wearing my Justice League of Shakespeare. Yes.
Yeah. Nothing relevant besides that to the story.
Woman with blood on her hand, this Lady Macbeth!
Yeah. I think it was just the way she was holding them. So she goes into shock, and she's just really angry, but you're not really sure why she's angry. You don't know if she's, pissed off at Jamie, but she really has no right to be pissed off at Jamie. There's just anger, but she can't figure it out.
I read it as she was just shutting down emotionally, and she had the only way she could get this emotion out was to lash out at everybody. And Jamie just happened to be the one talking to her all the time.
This is true. So she comes to the realization that the reason she's angry is because I guess in the moment before she kills the guy, she realizes that she's completely kind of put her whole entire mission to get back to Frank, get back to her time on hold since she's married Jamie. It's kind of like she let that whole entire situation just evolve, just take over every emotion, and then this was the first time where she was like, if I were in 1945, this wouldn't be happening to me.
Yeah, it was a situation of not just realizing that she's let go, but it was a near-death experience and her realizing, holy crap, what am I doing?
I think she's extremely angry at herself for forgetting about Frank, for forgetting about her getting home, for real like this could be the first time she's realized that she's actually not in her time. This is something that she thought she would never have to deal with.
Right.
You know, being
And she's facing a situation where she might never get to go home.
yeah.
If she and Jamie go back to the Frasers, who the hell knows where they are and how far they are from Craig and Dune, and if she'll ever get home.
So yeah. So that whole situation happens. And from Jamie and the rest of the dudes decide to go meet with the guy that's claiming that he knows, a witness Jamie not murdering the guy. I'm just going to speak for him. So poor little Willie, the youngest member.
Oh, poor Willie. And
Poor
poor
Willie.
Willie's name being Willie.
Huh? What? What'd you say?
I said poor Willie's name being Willie.
I like it. I think it's spunky.
It's obviously them making fun of him because he's young and they want to make penis jokes.
Yeah, his name could be William and they call him Willie for short. Jeez, give the kid a break.
Continue.
Anywho, so they decide to go off and they're like, Claire, it's just too dangerous. You stay here with Willie and don't let Claire out of your sight, blah, blah, blah. And then Jamie goes, promise me you'll be here when I get back. Promise. And she's like, fine. I'm like, shut up. And then, so then Willie has to go to the bathroom.
He has to go more than just to the bathroom because she tells him to go downwind and at least 20 yards away or 50 yards away.
Let's try. Okay, so yeah, Willie really has to use the facilities, which is a hole in the ground. And Claire's like, yeah, Claire tells him. And then all of a sudden, Claire just turns, and there it is. Craig Ledoux. And then she like,
wow. Very far away. They're really far away.
Yeah, like she
Really
like the fog is lifted over the Scottish landscape. And, like, oh, and there it is. And she's like, oh, this is my chance. And she starts running in her full getup. I don't know how she got there so fast because, of course,
Determination.
Yeah. And she starts screaming, Frank, Frank! And then at the same time, Frank is also there, you know, crying and Claire, Claire, and then Frank, Frank, Claire.
Reenact every episode forever.
What?
You should reenact all of the episodes for the rest of time. You have to reenact your favorite scene.
Yeah, and Claire gets there, and Frank is on his knees in front of the stone. And it's quite, and, you know, it's in a, stylistically, it's nice because Frank's scene is very undersaturated, whereas Claire's is very saturated. Did you know? So that was nice.
Yes, I noticed that. We went to the same film school.
This is me. This is saturation, guys. So it was very nice. So Claire's just about to touch the rocks, and her blanket's still there from when she fell, and she's about, and then boom, the redcoats swoop in, and she's, Frank, wait for me! And Frank like thinks, oh, did I hear her? But no, Frank, you didn't. He turns around and he drives away from Scotland forever.
Dun dun dun.
So, but it's not over. It's not over.
There is some conversation to be had about this scene. I liked, like you said, I like that we get to see the literal contrast between 45 and 1945 and 1743, and that so we know which time period we're in at any one time. I liked the parallel editing a lot between the two, so that we see them sort of like coming to the same place, which is a film no-brainer. I like that they can hear each other, and that Claire knows she's hearing Frank, and Frank thinks...
That's up for debate, though. That's
her
your...
debate.
Huh?
I liked how she actually says, before she runs toward the rocks, that she now has to choose which Claire she wants to be.
Yeah. And it's clear in that moment that Claire chooses Frank.
Yeah, there is no doubt in my mind that she would have touched those stones and gone through. There is some question as to what she would have done if they hadn't been attacked.
That's what I'm thinking. I was just going to bring that up, that if Claire wasn't just attacked and had this life-changing thing happen to her, would she still run to the rocks the way she did?
Yeah, like, would she still go there? Would she have... She didn't hesitate. Like, maybe there was some hesitation in that moment when she says, like, you know, when I came here I was Claire Randall, then Claire Beecham, and now I'm Claire Fraser, and I have to pick which Claire I want to be.
Yeah.
exactly in that tone of voice. She
Like this as well.
she has that moment of hesitation, but she doesn't really hesitate. She goes straight for the rocks, and once she hears Frank, she goes straight for that rock, and she has her hands out.
Yeah, it's like, whoa.
And then she's yanked back, and so there's no doubt in my mind that is what she was going to do. But would she have hesitated? Would she have even made the same choice had she not had that experience beforehand? That's a big question. Would she have even noticed Craig Nadine was there?
These are all questions that I don't know we'll ever get answers for.
I don't think we will ever get answers to them. It's unfortunate. I really want some. I like to think that she would have gone, but honestly, I don't think she would have. I think she may have kicked herself later for when she realized that she was there. I don't think she would ever have noticed. If she hadn't been attacked beforehand, I think the scene would have played it a lot differently. They would have been walking down, and we'd see them walking in the background. You see the fog lift and Craig Nadine there, but they're still walking in the fog.
What I want to know is that in that moment, because we've talked about this before, if there has to be a certain ritual that has to happen for Claire to actually be able to travel, or if because she's already a traveler, she can just touch those rocks whenever she wants and go back. So what if she did touch the rocks and nothing happened?
I think that would also have been a really interesting scene. I am of the opinion that she would have been transported back, or that it doesn't take the ritual, it's the rocks themselves are a convergence. So
now then, here's my argument. What if Frank touched the rocks? Because clearly he was having a connection.
Yeah, I think it was the connection because Claire was there. If Claire hadn't been there, I don't think there would have been anything. Because Mrs. Graham,
yes,
she specifically says that like the stones choose
the traveler, yeah,
who the traveler is going to be. It's select few people, and most of them come back. She also specifically says most. So there is a question as to whether she will come back.
Miss Grammy Graham might know what's going on.
True.
She's one to watch.
Her witchy friends.
Witchy friends.
Witchy friends. So then, after Claire is captured, there's another really great sequence of Claire characterization where at this point either she's given up or she just doesn't give a shit anymore, and she knows she's going to be taken to Blackjack, and she knows what is going to happen when she gets there. So she prepares for it, and she finally starts using her future knowledge to her advantage.
I know. But then I
like to see her so conniving. And then
it was brilliant, and then it went from brilliant to like real fast.
So fast. Like the second he says, "Of course that means you work for the Duchess," I was like, no, that's a trap. That's such a trap. Stop.
Fucking BJ, man. Excuse my language, but he deserves it.
He really does.
How can I love Frank so much and hate BJ so?
Because the guy who plays them is so freaking good.
No, I just want to kill BJ with my bare hands.
I know that's not going to happen. At least I don't think that's going to happen because.
Yeah, he's a great I think he's worse than Joffrey, if we're going to compare, but like it's like you hate him so much, but he brings so much to the table that you don't want to see the character go.
Yeah, whereas Joffrey, you're kind of like, meh.
Yeah.
I could kill him.
Yeah.
I really like BJ. So I hope he sticks around. So we see Claire finally turn the tables on him and mention, because she knows that he has a patron, and his patron is the Duke of
something with an S.
Devonshire? No, Duke of.
No, it starts with an S.
Duke of something. He's the Duke of something. And it starts with an S. And he is paying, or Dougal is doing the Duke's bidding essentially, and the Duke is protecting him.
Not Dougal, BJ. Let's not get it confused.
Did I say Dougal?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant BJ.
We haven't mentioned Dougal enough in this episode. So
I guess not. I really like Dougal. He wasn't really in the episode that much.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Duke is protecting BJ in exchange for BJ doing his bidding while he's in Scotland. And so she turns the tables and says that she is also working for the Duke, and that he can try to turn her over and ruin her mission, or he can let her go and let her complete whatever she was doing. And because he always apparently knows when she's lying, calls her out on it and says, "But of course, you mean that means you're working for his wife."
Mhm.
And she plays into it, which I was so mad at her for.
It was like at the freaking door. Like this was like how like she was there. And
Yeah,
it was
exactly.
just,
Like, find something else to say. Don't agree with him in any way. Don't disagree with
yeah.
him in any way. Just be like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I work for the Duke and only the Duke, and walk out.
I don't need to answer to you, bitch. And just like
Basically, yeah. Instead of saying, we've corresponded, and he's like, he doesn't have a wife, dummy, and now I'm gonna tie you up because I have rope in my desk.
yeah. So then he ties her up and he calls that poor little boy that had to kick Claire before into the room. He
Who
goes,
says I'm sorry?
yeah. Who goes, no matter what you hear, don't come in this room. And I'm like, oh, fuck. So he ties her up, and then, he begins to undress her, and then he has her over the table, and then, Superman comes in, and he busts open the window with his pistol and goes, get your hands off my wife. And you're like, just
Yeah,
stop
exactly.
it.
How of course did he get in? How did he scale the freaking wall?
It was, a brick fort, so I don't know.
Probably supposed to be impenetrable, full of English soldiers.
Yeah, it was on water, I do believe. So there was water issues.
Jamie is a combination of Superman, Aquaman, and Batman.
And it's not like Jamie is a tiny man. Like
No.
he's a big man with bright red hair. He's very noticeable. Like, I just don't understand how he can maneuver so well.
He's also Spider-Man.
Yes.
He's all of the superheroes rolled into one.
Superhero possible. He's the
Which just continues his perfection, although this time at least it's not in the the amazing things he does, which he also does those.
yeah.
I'm so sick of him being perfect. And at least this is a bit of a flaw where he goes barreling in, but he's going barreling in because he's a superhero.
Yeah. And so that's how it ends, with Jamie being like, get your hands off my wife, and like he's in the window.
Yeah,
and then,
which is a great cliffhanger.
Yeah, it's a great cliffhanger for 6 frickin' months. Thank you, stars.
Yeah, do we know what date? It comes back in April, but...
I think April 4th.
April 4th. Okay, so it comes back in April, so that'll be what we wait for, which is going to be interesting because there will be 3 shows that we were planning on doing going on at the same time.
Cool.
But one of the things that I was hoping was that when BJ says, no matter what you hear, do not come in, I was like, great, can someone torture you?
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that he screams and the corporal doesn't come in.
Yeah.
Yay.
My whole thing is like what, like how is this gonna happen? Like I don't think Jamie's going to kill BJ.
Well, even if he does, there's no way they're getting out of there alive.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So like, what the hell is his plan of action?
I have no idea, but it's kind of it's something we can ruminate on for 6 months, or we can.
Couldn't he just pull another Dougal and just barge into the room and take Claire? Like, she's a Scot now. He has no right to hold her captive.
True, he doesn't.
Well, I would have just barged into the damn room Dougal style.
Dougal style. Yeah, I honestly don't know whether he's going to go about it violently or if he's going to try.
Do like this grand entrance. It was a Jamie grand entrance that had to be done, and it was like
we had to see him literally swooping in.
Literally. With Ned's pistol, because let's be real, that was Ned's pistol. Who shot a
Ned's pistol. Who also had great moments. He got to shoot a dude.
I can't decide who's my favorite character. Everyone in the show is just great.
Everyone is pretty great. I don't know who my favorite character is because I don't feel like it's Claire.
Which is awful to say because
I just don't feel like she's my favorite character. Like, she's a great character. There are just so many of them. I can't choose a favorite. And my favorites are never necessarily the main character. They're always a sidekick. So like my favorite's probably Angus.
Angus is pretty great. But then there's Rupert. Then there's Ned, then there's Willie, then there's Gilly's husband, who was entertaining for that brief 5 minutes, who I liked.
So I like everyone. We'll just go with I like the ensemble. They're doing a really good job with the show. I think the first half of the season was very good.
Yes.
So what are your predictions for the rest?
I really just don't know.
Yeah, I really have no idea either. This is the first time I haven't been able to like formulate a perfect theory about what's gonna happen.
Like, you know what we could do? We could just read the goddamn book and then we
We
would know.
could read the book. We could. We both own it. We've said this in like the last 4 or 5 episodes. We both own the book. It's
Yeah,
sitting right there for her.
it's right over there, guys. It's
For
mocking.
me, it's on my tablet. Like it's sitting there on my Kindle app, and it's open even. Like I just haven't read it. I've read so many other books in between.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just, it'll happen. It's going to happen because I have.
Now I kind of like don't want to. Now I kind of, but I don't like. Now I'm like, do I want to just wait it out?
Right, I'm kind of enjoying not knowing,
Yeah,
so I have no idea what I'm gonna do.
or whatever. But I have no predictions. I don't. I really just don't know.
Neither do I.
Maybe.
But I'm enjoying the ride, which is something I more than I can say for a lot of shows.
Yes.
I don't have a lot of complaints for the writers in this first season. I think it's a really strong season.
And for our viewers, there's an excellent interview with Ronald D. Moore, on Entertainment Weekly right now about the first season, and he briefly talks about, whether Claire and Frank really hurt each other, the adding of apparently we don't know because we didn't read the books, but there's a lot more Frank in the TV series than in the first novel, and why that makes sense is so audiences aren't like, why the hell is she just staying with the hot redhead? Why is she even
Right,
thinking
exactly.
about
Like, if we didn't know anything about Frank, I would probably not prefer him to Jamie, but because we
yeah,
know so much about him already, both through her remembrances of him and from that first episode and from this episode, he
yeah.
is a flawed character, which is one of the reasons why I like him.
Yeah, I like Frank a lot. And then there's even a mention of maybe what's happening down the line, which I don't want to say. But if you want to know a little bit about what's going to happen in the second half of the first season, you should go on Entertainment Weekly and check out this interview.
Yes, and I will post the link in the description on both the YouTube page and on the website. Which, by the way, allgeektome.net, you should totally go there because we write more things in which we probably swear more than we should. And things. So that is, I think, it. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, I just hope that Willie doesn't die. I hope Jamie doesn't kill Willie.
That would be sad if Jamie killed Willie. I think if Willie is going to die, it's going to be during the Jacobite Rebellion. I think he's
Willie's definitely going to get an ass beating, though.
yeah. Oh,
They're going to play that crazy field hockey game, and he's going to tackle him and hit him with the stick. Like, I don't know.
they're going to play the crazy field hockey game, and he's going to be the ball.
Yes.
So that's, yeah. Only prediction we will make is that they are going to kick Willie's ass
Yes.
at some point in the near future. All right, well, that is it for this episode of Two Chicks, One Show. We have another episode happening in 27 minutes at 7 p.m., where we will be discussing Once Upon a Time, Season 4, Episode 1, A Tale of Two Sisters, where Storybrooke is now inhabited by Elsa from Frozen.
Winter is coming ... early. Because
Yes.
we're not seeing the game.
Was that seriously it?
Yeah.
Is that seriously? Oh my god. There's going to be a lot of me complaining. Let's just get that out there. If you are a giant Once Upon a Time fan and you want to get really mad at someone, I will be the person that you'll be sending your death threats to for the foreseeable future. So yeah, that is going to be 7 o'clock on Google+. If you're on YouTube, it's on this YouTube channel. If you are on the website, there's another link. So come back, watch it, chat with us, let us know what you think. Hashtag Two Chicks One Show, at Tricia Ennis, at Kait Calabro. I am Tricia Ennis, she is Kait Calabro, we are the Two Chicks. This has been episode 8 of Two Chicks One Show, the end of Outlander. Until April, goodbye.
Yeah, April.